Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairil mursaleen. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. One of our favorite, I'll just read one line of Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qad aflaha al-mu'minun alladhina hum fi salatihim khashi'un walladhina hum anil lagwi muhridun walladhina hum lil-zakati or lil-zakati fa'ilun. That basically means, the one I wanted to read was the first ayat. The believers must eventually win through. That's Yusuf Ali's translation. Technically, some Arabs told me that the way the words are structured, the believers have already won through. And that's the reason I wanted to read that today. Of course, talk those who humble themselves, those who have khushu. Khushu is a special characteristic. It's kind of like humility. Once a person was fumbling around and scratching and picking his teeth, stuff like that in prayer. And so somebody mentioned khushu. You know, that humility, that awe, being in awe of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said if he had khushu, you could see it on his body. If he had khushu for Allah, if he had awe and respect and, just overwhelmed by Allah, humility, you say you would see it, you could see it on his body. In other words, so, but this statement, the believers must win through. If I could find one more ayat that I'd like to go through before finishing up, maybe I didn't believe it, didn't bring it. Okay. Let me see here. Well, basically, I'll tell you what I'll do, since it's relatively important. That's dear Yusuf Ali. I just snatched that boy. This makes it more real, like, you know what I mean? Like it ain't no more. And that's the way we have to keep our stuff kind of real. Kind of down home.
Right, it's not scripted.
That's not scripted.
Non-scripted, not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just like I eat, you can feel comfortable. You don't have to feel all, you know what I mean, tense and stuff like that. So, anyway. We're familiar with everything here except one. And that'll give the idea of where we're coming from, inshallah. Okay, don't expect nothing new except the last part. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa man ahsanu qawlan mimma da'a ila Allah wa amila salihan wa qala innani minal muslimin. ولا تستوي الحسنات ولا السيئات أدفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلاكها إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَّرُوا وَمَا يُلَاكَهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَكِيمٍ عَلِيمٍ. We've read it 1,000 times. Who is better in speech than one who calls men to Allah with righteousness and says, I am of those who bow in Islam. Nor can goodness and evil be equal. Repel evil with that which is better. Then between whom and thee was hatred become, as it were, thy friend and enemy. No one will be granted such goodness except those who exercise patience and self-restraint. None but persons of the greatest good fortune. I'm going to read this last ayat here. That we never read before. وَإِمَا غَنَاكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نُزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِيذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ As-Sabiqun. If at any time an incitement to discord is made to thee by the shaitan, seek refuge in Allah. He is the one who hears and knows all things. I happened to read one of the footnotes the other day because I was looking in the concordance for words like incitement, to provoke someone, and so when I looked in there, it says, well, 41:36. I said, 41:36, that's right after my whole spiel. And I was looking at that because I was looking up the word, I think it's Nazaga. It means, I'll read what it says. Nazaga has in it the idea of discord, slander, disharmony, as well as incitements to such disturbances in the soul. They can only proceed from evil and should be resisted by the help of Allah. It's like saying what this is saying when the shaitan or something excites you. It's the same as saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. That's basically the words in here, except it's changed around a little bit. Now the one I read this morning, that falls right in. We've been saying this all the time, but I have to take, we've been taking, I know I have been taking Yusuf Ali for granted, because in recent years, every time I read a footnote about La Tatrabu, no reproach, when I read his footnote on that, Surah 12 or Surah Yusuf, Ayat 92, his gives the exact same thing that we were saying. That we got most, because the brothers are saying, hey man, you must be Joseph. Yeah, I am Joseph. Well man, we really messed up. He said, don't worry about it. He said, the shaitan slipped up on us. You know what I mean? And caused enmity between me and my brothers. But now basically he's telling them we got bigger fish to fry. Hey man, the whole world is, that part of the world is in famine. Our parents and the rest of the crew is still back at home. You know what I mean? Starving to death almost. So we got work to do. So that's what La Tatra will mean. And that's why we said it to the people in California. Technically, we say it to people everywhere. No reproach. We ain't got time to be bothered with you. And then this ayat was linked with that because I was looking for another word, amr, which has to do with deeds and actions, you know, or ammar. When I looked that up, it gave, and we talk about it all the time, nafs amara, nafs lawama, nafs al-mutmainah. And this is dealing with the woman that, like Joseph, she said it was nafs amara, that excites, you know what I mean? The animal spirit that excites you, you know what I mean? And that's what took me out. But he didn't do nothing, he's all right. Now, this is what he says about the other word. Unless they, oh yes, it says, see also last note. That's why I read this morning, so I read the other note. The moral standard referred to in the last verse can only be reached by the exercise of the highest patience and self-restraint. This is exactly what we say. All sorts of human weaknesses and counsels of pseudo-wisdom, like people gonna counsel you on what to do, and self-respect, people gonna disrespect you a whole lot, will keep breaking in, but resist them as suggestions of evil. If you reach anywhere near that high standard, you will be indeed most fortunate in a spiritual sense, for Allah's revelation will have made you great and free. This is Yusuf Ali. We've been saying all the time, we stop at highs. Hey man, ain't nobody gonna be able to do this stuff we just read, except people who are very fortunate. Then, for us, we stop there. We read this other ayah before. I read every footnote in Yusuf Ali, I think twice around. But it wasn't a time for it to jump out. Every time recently I read a Yusuf Ali, you know what I think about? I think about the man in 1954 who died in a park in London. And they called up the Indian or Pakistani embassy and said, we think one of your people have died. That's what happened to Yusuf Ali. He died penniless, and in the English-speaking world, this is the translation of Quran that's everywhere. The work that he did is phenomenal. And in the early years, remember, we follow in the English translation, and we live in a better Islamic life than the Arabs that can read it straight away.
Then you found out how high he is with Tafsir Quran. When you start reading Tafsir Quran, you see where he's at. He's mentioned all the time with his Tafsir, all the time. Until
you see, that's the way the Quran is. At first you are a learner, and you never stop learning. But you, even when you're a teacher, you're a learner. So you start teaching and learning, and then you read this footnote. This footnote is exactly what we've been saying all the time, that when you're working for the cause of Allah, to get here, this is a big deal. You're going to have to be very patient to work toward. Don't equalize their bad treatment for your good treatment. I mean, they treat you as bad as they can without killing you. They do as much as, and if it go on long enough, they might finally just say, hey, do the Pontius Pilate and say, my hand is untied, I don't have nothing to do with it. Whatever you do, talk to the CIA, the police, it's up to y'all. I don't have nothing else to do with it. But Yusuf Ali is saying in this, that evil will attack you, to incite you, to provoke you, right? To respond to them. Now, the thing that I didn't say during this, I responded to all the Quranic ayats, but I didn't say, but I knew exactly what they're doing. They're trying to incite, they're trying to provoke, right? They're trying to change the direction. They're trying to change the focus. See, the system thinks like this: whatever you think about, you become. That's why Think and Grow Rich is so popular. They think thought is more important than belief. PMA, positive mental attitude, that stuff is very important. Very, very important. But it's not more important than belief. Thinking is not more important than believing, but technically they go together. But if you think something is true, that's one thing. You did your scientific research. But you believe it means you acting upon it. Because everybody thinks that it's the hereafter. Most people, they believe there was a man called Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't think it's made up. The Muslims think the Quran is just a good book. They read it, they say this is deep. But if they don't act on it, they don't really believe it. And that's what the Bible said in the book of James: faith without works is dead. He said the devil believes, according to them, but he don't follow it up with no works. So faith without works is deeds. Now we link belief and action. We call it in the articles Iman and Amal. It's a part of the deen. You know, Iman, Aman, trust, faith, and Amal, words and deeds. I will speed up a little bit on that thing. Anyway, here we are today, and I had a call Friday night. It sounded like Khadijah. They said, this is the Berkeley Gazette, Berkeley newspaper, and we want to, are you going to be here soon? Make that they know where I'm at. We want to interview you. And we want you to tell your side of the story. And we've already interviewed Khadijah, and we want to interview Mosque. So I basically hung up. No, she said, lock my number in and call me when you get here. Do you plan to come anyway soon? I said I might be there by Christmas or something like that. You know? Then 2 minutes later, caller ID pops up. That's Khadijah so I didn't answer it, of course. But I want to get one of these up to reiterate so they'll understand where we're coming from a little better, so the people of Oakland will understand where we're coming from a little better. And a little bit about where we're at, a little bit about outcomes and things of that nature. You know, outcomes, just like a goal. What do we want out of this? And so I was making a few notes that during the next period, we want to be instructional. Instructing people. Excuse me. We don't want to be. We're already doing that. We've been doing that all along. We've been doing that since 2013. All of our lectures, when we would call from California during the khutbah here, just before khutbah, we was doing that then. We were setting up the scenario because educational, informational, and like today, and sometimes we have a grand jury approach. Like you remember, we had some reading from some court documents maybe 2 weeks ago. That was for a certain reason. Some of our people, you could tell when the white man is telling the people something, but they get the things wrong. Some of the agents, the Arabs out there, the young Arabs, the big beards, was pulling the guns on us and acting crazy. They would say, "Yes, Clarence, they're trying to provoke me too. The other one, his friend, is the one when I told him that you can't pray and get on out. And then I started moving in this direction. He moved that. I started watching his invasion. I said, he ain't no standard everyday Arab. He's using regular evasive techniques, trained evasive techniques. But when I got up on him, he leaned forward. I said, I knew it. And I had somebody there with me. I said, I told you this boy was a police. He went right into his training. You know what I mean? And that's what sometimes, these people know they go into their training in different times. So this guy was saying, Clarence, you assaulted an FBI agent. I said, boy, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, you got it wrong. I said, it wasn't an FBI agent, it was a customs agent. They both government people, but there's a difference between the FBI and customs. I said, your master is teaching you wrong. You got to get the stuff straight. I said, everything y'all do is a little off. Mukhtar rolled in the first time this stuff started happening. I had been in California 2 weeks. I didn't go to jail. I took my sons and we went around to different mosques, gave them a box, and we raised money, $700 a year, $500, just doing it because I had asked Mukhtar to go around and raise money, and he never did, never did. In 5 years, he never took a box. Oh, my tires won't make it, the car won't run, the baby's sick, anything but raising money. Now, when he walked in the door of the program, he came with the camera, and he came in hollering, Imam Musa, you a thief. Imam Musa, you've been stealing the believers' money. Imam Musa, you got all this money in the bank. So I can have as much money as I want in the bank. But you abusing the believers' money. I said, oh, what believers' money? I said, you must don't know what we talk about. In our masjid in D.C., when we talk about money, I said, I have one right here. This one lecture is called 10%, I'll think of it in a minute. It's about whenever you reach 10%, you already just about, we consider it like that. I mention that because we was looking to raise $1 million, and when we hit $100,000, I told everybody that we didn't hit $100,000, and I was talking about 10%. Okay. When he had the white folks show him our accounts, he must have been shocked that we had as much money. He must have thought that the $35,000, $40,000 I put in the account for him to spend, actually it wasn't for him to spend, it was for him to, he was supposed to do exactly like we do, just like we do. We don't get no salary. In fact, you go out and hustle money. If you are As-Sabiqun, the same thing, even Abdul-Malik at first, he didn't get no salary. But boy, he got one in a hurry because they got that school rolling, they got the school packed, and they started having big money. Every day Mukhtar was there, he got a stipend of $1,000 a month, $800 a month, or something, you know, a stipend. We didn't, our teachers here got stipends, all of those people. They were doing this particular job. And that subsidy cost us technically about $4,000 a month for 10 years. That's $400,000. Probably is closer to $500,000. That's close to $500,000. A Negro with no job, you know, that comes to be, and the people want their little stipend every Friday. Can you imagine meeting the payroll every Friday with the money that they supposed to put their tuition, $50 a week, and the tuition, and the money to come out of here. Plus, it's mostly winter time. Can you imagine that big juicer down there cranking out heat? They don't turn it where you get a little heat now and then it goes off. They have that boy full blast all the time. That's right. It ain't never kind of bland or mellow. It's warm, it's toasty, like girls like it. They like it toasty. So anyway, so he rolled in talking about you doing this, that, and another. A few months ago, Khadijah called. I said, well, I'll answer this time. Yes, this is Madam so-and-so. That's great. Sound like Khadijah to me, I don't say. I said, okay, Khadijah. Yeah, well, listen, but then I just want to talk. So she started talking calm and relaxed. And then that's to get me on. And then after a while, they trash. So at that time, I hang up. So these clowns have had several statements that they made that are what I call ridiculous. In a minute, I'm going to get to the ridiculous trap. Ridiculous trap is a big strategy, and it won't sound like one until I tell you what it is. Imam Musa, you didn't do no time. You did 2 years in the penitentiary on all that dope you were selling. So I looked at her like they were stupid. I said, that's not true. That 5-year sentence, and I did mandatory release. That means no parole and nothing, you know, just the whole deal. It was around, it was wild. You had a deal with the federal government, I never got a chance to tell them. One of the reasons that I read from the court papers the other day and the notes in and around the trial about how the government was treating me, about how the government put me in the crazy house in the county jail, how they did this over and over again, how when people came to visit, or people would put, first the government when I turned myself in, they didn't catch me, I turned myself in to solve this problem, because I wanted to work kind of like we're working now. And I couldn't do it working underground. So when I came and turned myself in, I had 25 grand. Now 25 grand is enough to, in those days, it's like having 250,000 now, or like like 200,000 now. Yeah, sure. It's about what, in 73, when I turned myself in. So Mukhtar was saying, yeah, you only got 5 years, 2 years. And they repeated that over and over again. They repeated it in front of some of my friends. Diamond Jim, and Diamond, he said he's the best amongst us. And, because I met Diamond in the pen, not outside. And we was in the pen. He said he did, and So I looked at Khadijah, the Donald Trump statement. I said, see that girl there? I said, would we have allowed her to be a doormat in our time? I mean, would we even wipe our shoes, our alligator shoes on that, I didn't call it ugly, but something like that, you know. I don't know. That blanket, and he was a boxer. He wanted to beat everybody up. But so did everybody else. They wanted to be armed. They couldn't figure out what's wrong with people. Some of our friends would ask, who is this nigga Mukhtar? What does he do? I said, he's just a damn fool. Well, I said, don't worry about it. And I kept telling, because they were doing the same thing Yusuf Ali was saying. Pseudo-learned people will come to you. Pseudo is kind of like, you know, pseudo-wisdom will tell you because of respect, you know, or disrespect, and all of that stuff, to move on these people. But you got to seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, you know. The key thing that I like Yusuf Ali said in this, he said, even if you get a portion of this, basically, the standard, so you'll be on your road to, what did he say, freedom and something else he said. It was good. Power and freedom, I think it was. So Yusuf Ali had hit the big time. I'll try to get on back to our people. See, what happened with our people was, this is the ridiculous trap. That's a trap that I've developed. The ridiculous trap is just what it sounds like. It's a trap. They got a honey trap, pretty girls. You know, they do that to most people all the time. The thing about the Negro is he falls for it 99.9% of the time. He just go for that. That's just, so they figure something, you know. Abdul-Malik said basically that right in the middle of all of this fitna, when they saw it wasn't working, he told me basically, you're eccentric. He used some word like that something's wrong with you. You're not normal. I said, I'm plenty normal. I said, it's just a little old punk stuff, ain't nothing. I said, y'all still on the girly level. Y'all just, I said, we are not anywhere in the same arena. We can use the same words, but they don't mean the same to me as they do to you. So anyway, ridiculous traps is, first of all, you got to have, as we said last week, your outcomes laid out, your goals. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What impact do you want to have? So we already know the impact and what we want to do because that's what we're doing. We want to educate the people on what they call possibility thinking. We want to teach, we are right now teaching the Muslims that it is very, very possible to survive the highest level of onslaught by the U.S. government. You can do it. You just never tried. If you want proof, here it is. That's why we would call Crescent every now and then. We don't call Crescent anymore. They putting us in there because they want to. You ever see ICT on everything? It wasn't there before. They treated the brother like a non-welcome persona non grata in political work. So, all the people they got, all of their champions have never had a fight. Siraj has never fought the government. Abdul-Malik has never fought the government. Zaid Shaka has never fought the government, never challenged it, open challenge. You're wrong, you're bad, you keep doing that stuff. You have a people in San Bernardino shoot up the place, those are your people. You can't blame that on us. Imagine if all the Muslims leaders were saying, wait just a minute, hold it, let's investigate. In all their newspapers and all their lectures, they said, let's examine the evidence. Starting with 9/11, or even before. We started way back before the other World Trade Center 93. We was already veterans by then. We jumped on that stuff then. So hold it, don't add up, don't add up. Why? And we told them, because if you don't stop it now, they're going to keep on going. Pretty soon, you won't be doing no more lovey-dovey dawah. You'll be on the defensive. Islam is not terrorism. Islam, no. Instead of going after the American people with courage and backbone, tell them Islam is good for you. You know what I mean? But they don't do it. Why? Because they've allowed themselves to be set up and manipulated. The system controls the environment in and around Islam, except us. So we have to teach the science of possibility. This is the science. The social, they have political science, social sciences, right? We're teaching movement science. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. The science of how to conduct a successful experiment in the social and political world. What do we mean by experiment? Movement experiment. How to move from one point to another following a general sequence of events that produces what the Quran calls falah, kad aflaha al-mu'minun. How to become successful. That's what we're teaching. It goes back to the 3-minute mile, 4-minute mile. Remember they tried for years to break it, they couldn't, they did everything. Drag people behind horses, anything to try to get them to run a 4-minute mile. 4 minutes, they couldn't do it. Soon as the guy run a 4-minute mile, within a year or two, 35 people that did it, some huge number. Now they run it in high school, every 4-minute mile. The barrier had to be broken. We've broken the barrier of invincibility of the United States government, the Zionists and everybody. I have stuff here from the Zionists, all the counter-terrorist blog. That's old Steve Emerson. We said, yeah, put us on your blog, Mom. Don't make us no difference. We're going to use that. We used it. Used it so good that Mukhtar went out and tore down the sign for the Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. ADL, that's a Fox, that's the biggest Zionist in America. ADL, Iranian government press TV, promotes anti-Semitism to global audience. That it has, according to A. Fox, ADL, National Director of anti-Semitism on press TV is insidious, pervasive, and deceptive. Then he goes on down here to say something about, among those who have appeared on press TV are American anti-Semite and racist David Duke, Imam abdul-alim Musa of Masjid al-Islam in Washington, D.C., and one or two more. He don't put nothing behind David Duke's name, but he put everything but the address and phone number. Right? We don't care. Remember when the Zionists jumped on Farrakhan for that gutter religion statement in the 80s? What did he do? Come out with a violin. Farrakhan plays Mendelssohn. Y'all remember that?
The little Jewish girl.
Of course. You hear him give a lecture, he said, I felt so bad, they put so much pressure on me. I said, cause you're not a girl. It's good to be a girl if you're a girl. We like girls. We don't have, we're pro-girl. If you're a girl. But you can't be no man acting like, because the Quran talks about women have a nice position. And if you're a boy and wartime come up and you run and hide, you're lagging behind.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger called them.
Girly men. So let me get back to the point. The art of possibility. That's what these DVDs are right here. These DVDs, the ones that's on there, they've already started teaching the art of possibility. We have to rally the courage and discipline out of the people and show them we can do it. We've already done it. Now, how are we going to do it where it sticks to our criteria? Our criteria is have a good time, have fun. Our criteria is a colored criteria. So what we have to do in the ridiculous trap is draw people into behaving totally ridiculous, which they did. Why? If somebody's mean, it's kind of easy to get mad at them. Tell the truth, they're just mean. It's easy to get mad. If somebody is dirty and low down, it's kind of easy to get mad at them. But what if somebody's just ridiculous? They're ridiculous, right? This sounds funny. I'm telling you, sitting right here in front of you, if you went through everything, if you thought back up, that was a ridiculous trap to get them, like they got honey traps, they got money traps, they got all kind of traps. We had to bring the government into a ridiculous trap. The FBI looks ridiculous. The Oakland Police Department looks ridiculous. They arrest me with Mukhtar and Khadijah holding the police's hand, 12 police cars outside at 12:30 in the morning. They arrest me, brutalize me out at Santa Rita, right? And I got the deed, and everybody knows that I'm the Imam. Everybody knows that. And they do that. It's ridiculous, right? Bank of America takes our accounts. They all got DC numbers. They have nothing to do with it. The ones with Oakland, they left alone. They didn't have a little money in it, you know. And they turn the money over to, you can't do that. That's totally illegal. It just hasn't been done before. With me telling them you can't do it. You can't do that. Well, he has the paperwork and we're going to do it. I said, get on with it then. Get busy. Go ahead and do it. I don't believe you're that stupid. And they did it. That's a ridiculous trap. When they called me to talk about what they're going to do, it's like the police. We'll do this. So you better get busy. The worst thing you can do is tell me you're going to do this. Because the first thing I'm going to do, historically, say, you better get busy. Don't come around here telling me what you're going to do. You better get busy. You going to take me to jail? I'm going to talk to you so bad, you got to take me to jail now. You know, that's a training. Okay, so the people are afraid of the FBI. It's like how to punk the FBI. That's what all that was. All that is the language. You can see what it is. And we're following the Quran. We're following the Hadith letter for letter on how to punk the FBI. 3 specific Hadith. Satirize these people. Make these big, powerful people look stupid and ridiculous. So if you look on the videos, they thought they was making me look ridiculous. And I'm saying on the video, I don't know if you've seen them, relax, take it easy. We do this all the time. I do this all the time. Right? That's the ridiculous trap. There's nothing they can do about it. It's too late. And all the people in Oakland, they look ridiculous. All the people that migrated from our masjid to other masjids and they came to, okay, they all saw what's going on out there. Okay? Nobody said a word. It's okay. If Mukhtar is somebody you pick up out of, basically what they used to say, you lift them up out of the gutter, they gave him a salary, $800. I put a count where he has action at $35,000 and $40,000. That's given, he'll never get that chance from anybody. Again. That's giving people a chance, and then coaching them. In those days, strategic management under conditions of repression, we went over and over again. That's giving a chance person to be somebody. That's building, that's human character building. If you give the other people, Mukhtar and Abdul-Malik, we was all together. I was giving a little constant to Abdul-Malik or something at that time. And Mukhtar was listening. So I said, well, Mukhtar, you could evolve a little bit. Abdul-Malik had convinced all of them to go to school to get some certificate or something. I say, you with us? You don't need no certificate. I don't have no certificate. I say, you get big. You don't get no certificate. I say, you get big. So when I was going to college in the penitentiary, I was a 4.0, you know, as best you can get. I said, when I got some letters from Alpha Kappa Dappa somebody, see, they just have it. They don't know who they write to. They just get the address, they get the name. You know, so they wrote me and said, we see you a super duper good Negro student out down in Florida too. We want you to consider joining our such and such and such. So I quit going to school. I said, anytime people like that write me, something is wrong. I quit taking the classes, but I kept going to school. All the time I was in the penitentiary, I went to all the college classes because they were mostly in the evening. I went to all of them, all the time, over and over again. You know, I believed in education, but I didn't want to have no certificate. So I got a certificate. I could have got a doggone near master's degree in the penitentiary. The time I had, I could easily got one. You know, I had to do nothing but run the yard and go to school. Hey, man, I could have got one in 2 years. I could have took all the classes. I don't have to do nothing. I don't have to make no money. I don't have to feed myself. I can fast, study, run the yard, and become a white man scholar. But I didn't want to have or a certificate or a degree in anything. Why? Because I have to make it. That's what I did. I said, you got to make it. You're not getting no paper where you might get a little tough. You go say, well, boss man, can I have a job? I got a certificate for foot shuffling and, you know, stuff like that. You know. I said, no. And then my family, they was tied into with these big churches and everything, where you can get a doctorate, you could send off, you know, and get you a doctor of theology. I said, I'm way past a PhD with this stuff right here. Man, a PhD is a dummy. A PhD is a dummy. You just read books. To survive out here, just this little stuff here, dealing with this white man, this runs people crazy in 3 weeks or months. Nobody did it. Nothing. Nobody. And we do it, and we don't break a sweat. You know what I mean? Never anxious, looking all around, oh, the white man don't like. right? Why? Because every time we have beat him at the game, he wouldn't expect what he never expected. What is the nigga up to? He never expected. A ridiculous trap, he wouldn't, if he took him 500 years, he would have never thought that, he said, well, maybe it's a hunting trap, or this is a trap. But it would never cross the white man's mind that the nigga has got a ridiculous trap and he's gonna make a fool out of me in front of everybody on paper, and everybody's gonna see it and know it. And that's exactly what happened. We got on Press TV at the right time, we got in the, what's the name, at the right time, Crescent, and now we could care less about any of those. We don't need them. They serve the purpose, but they still, call us every now and yes.
The education of reality.
Man, I'm trying to speak up. Okay, the art of possibility. The science of possibility. How to combine Quran, Sunnah, history, experience with movement. How to combine it with movement and self-mastery, the control of yourself. Environmental mastery, how to manage the environment. See, in order to get them to do what we want, we got to manage we got to, it's not managing the whole environment. It's like, you got an idea of where you want to go and what you want to do. It's just like Yusuf Ali said, you just do, out of 50 points, you just do number 1, number 3, and Allah take care of the rest. Because you don't have the power to control. And the people, they act exactly like you want them to do. You can see it right now, the ridiculous trap. We made them clowns look ridiculous. They look ridiculous. Everything they say is ridiculous. Imam Musa, your daddy used contacts to help you in that sentence. My father ran a gambling house. My father was different than I am. He gave me all the game. The only difference, the vice squad in Oakland Police Department told that dummy a big lie. He done told him that this nigga's daddy was cooperating with the police in his gambling. No, he wasn't cooperating with the police. He was paying the vice squad. And that was my only discussion with my father about that issue. His advice, because the time, look, in 1967, the time the police is arresting me and giving me the spiel, well, you don't have to go to jail, you have to, da-da-da-da-da. Guess what? My father comes in the door at that time when they arrested me. And they say, the gambling folks is here. So my father had heard about it. All the people arresting me is the vice squad. That's his home folks. Not home folks, he pay them. You don't collaborate with them. It ain't nobody snitch on and gambling. Right? You can't tell that nigga gambler. You can't go tell all your friends to gamble because that's where you get all your money. Right? And then that's the vice squad, local. My case is down in LA. And the first thing Clinton White told me, later became Supreme Court Justice, one of the biggest Negro lawyers in California, actually in the United States. He said, well, it happened in LA, this is out of our jurisdiction, we can't do nothing for you. I said, okay. So, what's this all about? If you mention, I went over a lot of the stuff about the case. This fool, the white man tell them dumb niggas stuff, and they start sprouting it on this thing and put it out like it's gospel. Like the reason I did 5 years was because my father had connections with the police and helped get me off. First of all, the only thing my father told me about that was, well, boy, I checked in the post office, you're supposed to be on a wanted list, FBI. He said, I don't never see you on no list like that. And then when I was getting ready to turn myself in, I said, well, you know, all this is a setup, that's a setup, everything. And he told me this at my sister's house. He said, well, you know, when you know too much, what happens? You know, he was telling me everything from his point of game, and he told me a lot of stuff. I thought it was this senior citizens talk. I did. He told me, he said, yeah, I knew Al Capone. I said, sure. He told me about bootlegging. And he would tell me, yeah, once I had a truckload and then the police was behind me, so I pulled over, stopped, and got out and kicked the tire. People used to do that, you know, and let the police get around you. I come to find out he had never told me that whatever they call it, Comstock, he had been in the penitentiary down in Dixie back in the 20s and 30s, something like that. I didn't know until one of the friends of his came out and knocked on the door. The man that came, might have been married to my mother years before my father met her, or something like that. He might have even been my oldest brother, he might have been his father, I don't know, something like that. But anyway, he said, well, tell your daddy it's so-and-so, it was an old man. He said, we tell him we was in Comstock together. I said, Comstock? That's a penitentiary down in Arkansas. So anyway, he never told me none of that stuff. The point I'm making is, these dumb buttholes, the police tell them stuff, and they believe it.
Don't forget the sticker.
Huh?
The sticker in the window.
Yeah.
What Mukhtar said the sticker means about you.
Oh! Unbelievable. But, see, ridiculous. You got to remember, I wanted a general ridiculousness. Child. I had no idea, I tell you the truth, ain't no sense in me lying. I didn't think it would go that far. I thought they would make a couple of punches and see that it ain't working, and they would pull back. No. More. So I'm saying, good. So I'm throwing gasoline on the fire. So much so that now when I point to something, I can say, that's what a ridiculous trap is. Look what they did. And when the people look at it, it's ridiculous. It's not only that, remember I was telling you about Khadijah attacked me. Technically it was 3 times, twice in the kitchen, and, 4 times, because one is on camera. And they got the camera, this right here this reminds me of Joseph's shirt, remember? And I got it upside down so you can see the tear is where in the back. See, that's the label.
She grabbed that thing, boy.
Yeah, she pulled it up. This boy came, she snatched it off of me. Because Mukhtar was acting a fool and I moved toward Mukhtar. And she not only snatched this, she weighs 300 pounds. Zafar asked me, how much does she weigh? Because Diamond, I told him, y'all observe, don't do nothing, don't worry about it, I got this covered. She technically knocked me down like tacking, Of course, I just rolled over, flipped straight up. I didn't know how to touch the ground. But this is evidence This is the shirt I had on. And they can't say I was attacking her.
Wow.
Mukhtar said I was attacking her. They put it on a thing. Imam Musa attacked my poor wife. So I must have slipped around behind some kind of way, because this right here shows, this is the label here, but unless I had it on upside down or backwards, the label is here. That means this is what the tag is. So all this is just fun stuff. This is just fun stuff. So the point of all of this is, the same story in warfare. Always use what God gives you. Never try to fight the system through its own guidelines, through its own rules. That's why we don't lose those TV arguments or nothing. Because we're not going to play by their rules. You know, they got restraints. I ain't got no, you must be crazy. Or we're not going to, we'll turn over the table, we'll jump up, we'll do what we want to do. We don't have no, you don't run nothing here.
Yeah, if I always telling you what you're going to talk about, what they want you to talk about, the subject matter, you know.
Hannity. You know what Hannity says? Oh, you're just nice as you can be. I know you're going to say something controversial. I said, before I went up there, everybody was telling me, especially the neighbor, those white folks, basically, those white folks are too smart and they're going to do this, they're going to. I said, that's what they did to Samuel Ariane. You know, it's Fox News who set him up to get that case on what he said. I said, I'm saying to myself, I've done 500 cases already in the last few years. So I know ain't no Peckerwood gonna get me to say nothing about terrorism. So I had a list. Nobody could see it, but I had words. I had 10 words. Each word stood for an idea, phrase, paragraph, and stuff. So as we talking, I don't care what he said. I glance at my list and I go right down the list. You know, I got 7 out of 10 things that I want to say. Usually you don't get nothing to say that I want to say. And he asked me a question about Ahmadiyya and all of that. At the beginning, I waited, it was almost the end. Then I come back and I said, if you understand martyrdom, if you understand, we talk about Palestinians now, if you understand that, then you understand about Iran and Ahmadiyya and all that. So, and then you ought to be on the terrorist list. I said, I'm on the list. You have probably helped me get there. Well, if I'm on the terrorist list, you're on the dummy list. He caught it for just a quick second. I said, yeah, didn't you say, he kept talking, didn't you say George Bush was a good man? Didn't you? And he keep talking. I said, didn't you say that George Bush was a good man? Yes, he is a good man. I said, well, if you follow a dummy, you're a bigger dummy than he is. And they got a headline now, because I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people have seen it. So they says, radical Imam calls somebody a dumbo. You know. But here's the point. All of it is a point is about our people. Fight the war with what Allah gives you. They are not prepared, nor can they get prepared. This one will be more devastating than last because we're going to move a little bit bigger. Tazkiyah bil nafs, environmental mastery. Okay? One of the honey traps they used was right here. They figured this nigga, like, they look at all your pictures. Not all, they look at some of them. And they see the yellow girl. They don't see Miss Mary, that's what I call her. Some of the other, they're like tar babies. You know the blue black women? They didn't look like they looked right past him. So all the honey trap women were yellow girls. All the yellow girls around here, them was honey trap women. I'm telling you. And then the people would be urging you, yeah, the dollar upstairs, the dollar this, and the dollar that. I said, these people is crazy. I'm not going for no dumb behind honey trap. First they drag over there to the Masjid before. Finally, I don't make no moves. You know what they did? They had a phony argument upstairs. Him and
abdul-alim.
and so they called me upstairs to help fix everything. Jalil opens the door, wide as he can. There's Nadala standing there with orange hair and leotards on. You're talking about his shape. You forget about it. I'm not talking about when she got fat and roly-poly. That child had probably, when y'all talk about she's a 5 or a 10, that girl, her body, little, but 10 plus 4, 10 plus 5. They open the door, and there she is with leotard, so I can look, I can't miss it. So I turned my head, but I didn't already seen. I said, these people is crazy. If they think I've been around the world 4 or 5 times, and they're gonna use a honey trap, and I forget the ones in South Africa, all the Indians that I